What's up, nerds and geeks? My name is OMG, WTF, LOL, FTW, BRB, and welcome to day 7 of the 31 days of the Royal Rumble. I just got done making day 6. I was going to do them in the same video, but there was really no point in that. The video was already dragging on a little long, so I figured I'll just separate them and have them uploaded on the same day. Anyway, let's not stop wasting time. We'll jump right into day 7 of the Royal Rumble here, which will be 1994's Royal Rumble. Vince McMahon and Ted DiBiase are on commentary tonight. That was a little shocking. And we'll get to it when we get to it, but there's one thing that kind of confused me at one point. Anyway, our opening match of the night is Tatanka, a guy that I'm a big fan of, to be honest. Tatanka taking on Bam Bam Bigelow, who comes out with Luna. Not a lot of highlights in this match. It was a very decent opening match, nothing too special. Tatanka actually, he goes over for a sunset flip at one point, and he's trying to pull Bam Bam down, and Bam Bam just ends up, sitting right on top of him. So you got that classic spot there. We got a nice double crossbody between the two, and guaranteed that both Tatanka and Bam Bam are kind of big guys. So it's cool to see them, get the double crossbody spot perfectly, by the way. Tatanka starts doing his whole, Indian prance around the ring. I don't really know what to call it, but he does that, dance thing he does, which leads to Insaguri taking him down. Bam Bam actually misses the moonsault, or the Bam salt, call it what you want. And Tatanka ends up connecting with a crossbody on the Bam Bam to win it. So, like I said, a very mediocre match. Nothing to write home at, but I'm happy to see my boy Tatanka getting the victory. We then go to an interview with Owen Hart, who talks about living in the shadow of Bret Hart. So they're obviously building up the Owen versus Bret feud at this moment. And then we go to an interview with Bret Hart, who talks about how he's not going to fight his brother. And then we go to an interview with both Bret and Owen Hart, which is a very fun promo. They're talking about how they're going to become tag team champions tonight. They're putting it all behind them and all that. It was a fun promo. I really enjoyed it. We then jump into the WWF Tag Team Title match between the Quebecers, Jacques and Pierre, who are accompanied by Johnny Polo, who you guys may know as Raven. I'm a huge Raven fan, so I popped hard when I saw Johnny Polo. And, of course, they're taking on Bret and Owen Hart. Bret and Pierre start the match off. We get an arm drag into a pin. That was kind of interesting. It didn't lead to the win, but I've never seen an arm drag into a pin. That was by Owen Hart, by the way. At one point, we have Owen and Jacques in the ring, and Jacques keeps telling, he wants Bret. He wants the #1 brother. He don't want #2. Owen's #2. And Owen takes offense to that, and he ends up, showing him up. We have one of the main themes here is Owen and Bret Hart are costing each other the matches at many times by distracting the referee, so the Quebecers get a lot of heat in here, while Owen and Bret really kind of look stupid. Finally, when Bret Hart comes in, he just cleans the house. He takes out both Jacques and Pierre. He's just dominating them, to be honest. It's crazy. But Bret goes to bounce off the ropes. Actually, I don't even want to say he bounced off the ropes. Bret was a little late for his spot because Johnny Polo jumps up on the apron and pulls down the ropes, and you can obviously see Bret run into the ropes. He didn't have to, but he runs into them anyway and falls out, so Johnny Polo gets him out of the ring. We lead to this outside brawl, very sloppy outside brawl. This is where the match kind of falls apart. One of the Quebecers, does the whole, sit down on the person's knee kind of thing on Bret Hart, and it looked ferocious. It looked like it hurt. Bret even kicked the dude afterwards, so I think it did end up hurting him. But like I said, this is where it gets very sloppy. The Quebecers, they target the finish. The Quebecers are very sloppy in the ring. In fact, my boy Zach was not into the Quebecers at all. They angered him, to be honest. But one thing I love about the Quebecers is they have this awesome finish where the one guy goes to the top rope. The other guy, grabs the guy's hands while he's on the top rope and then, tosses him off the ropes and, helps him, aids him into, a front flip onto the dude. So that was cool. I really enjoy the Quebecers finish, even though they didn't beat them. They missed the finish. But I forgot to mention this, but apparently the Quebecers lost to, I think it was it was Marty Jannetty and 1-2-3 Kid, and they won it back at a house show. So that's I don't know why the 1-2-3 Kid and Jannetty won the titles, but there you have that. The ref ends up throwing the match after, it looks like Bret can't continue. His knee's hurting him too bad, so the ref ends up throwing the match, which leads to the Quebecers retaining the championship. Owen Hart is just livid. He's pissed after this moment. After this, he berates Bret Hart, talking, down to him, and then he ends it by attacking Bret's leg. He attacks him when he gets up, and he leaves him in the ring. So Owen Hart officially makes his heel turn. We then go to... This was funny. Someone gets in the ring. I'm not sure if it was Sean Mooney, But he gets in the ring while Bret Hart's all down and everyone's checking on him. And he's trying to get an interview with Bret Hart, and it's just like, dude, he's hurt. And even Pat Patterson says, like, no, he can't do an interview right now. Like, it was just weird. But then we go to a post-match interview with Owen Hart, who proceeds to call Bret Hart selfish. He's talking about how, you're so selfish, Bret. All you needed to do was tag me, but you always got to be the hero of the match. You always got to win with your sharpshooter. I could have won us the match if you would have just tagged me and all this stuff. Owen Hart is really good on the mic. Like, I didn't know Owen Hart was this good on the mic until you see him, and then he promises to win the Royal Rumble, which obviously doesn't work out too well for him if you know what happens. We then jump into a WWF Intercontinental Championship match between IRS, Erwin R. Snitcher, taking on Razor Ramon, the champion. Here's the part that kind of confused me. So, I mentioned earlier how Vince McMahon and Ted DiBiase are the color commentators for this match. Out of nowhere, Jim Ross and Gorilla Monsoon were on the commentary for this matchup. I don't know why they were, because they weren't on commentary after this match either. It was just an interesting change for what seemed like no reason. This match was very dull. Probably the worst match of the night. I hate to say it, but IRS obviously isn't the best wrestler in the world. At one point, Razor Ramon, he takes IRS's briefcase and he hits... he takes it from IRS. Excuse me. And he proceeds to hit IRS with the briefcase, all while the ref is down. While the referee is down, this is really just kind of more towards the end. Like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of highlights. This was a very dull match. So while the referee is down, Shawn Michaels comes down to the ring, who I believe is going off the storyline that he's the real Intercontinental Champion, which will lead to an Intercontinental Championship match, I think. I could be wrong there. But he comes down to the ring, he hits Razor with the real Intercontinental Championship belt, which then leads to IRS pinning Razor while he's knocked out by Shawn Michaels. And IRS technically wins the Intercontinental Championship for a brief second until another referee comes down and he tells the referee, like, that's not what happened. The referee reverses decision, and then Razor ends up hitting the Razor's Edge on IRS to win the match and retain the championship. Like I said, definitely not the best match on the card. It is very dull. In fact, a lot of the matches on this card were pretty dull, if you ask me. We then go to the Undertaker versus Yokozuna video package, which they'll be fighting over the WWF title later on tonight, or next, I should say, in a casket match. Yoko is champion at this time. The video package just shows it looks like they're all combined together, and it's all these little video packages where Taker's pretty much making the casket for Yokozuna, and, does a lot of the whole Taker catchphrases of, rest in peace, and the hells of hounds are gonna come from you, stuff like that. Great great video package, which we lead into the matchup between The Undertaker and Yokozuna. And my God, Yokozuna, his acting is on par here tonight, because he is just selling how terrified he is in The Undertaker, and it looks so good. Like, he is just... yeah, he's just making it look good. Like I mentioned before, Gorilla Monsoon and JR were on commentary for the last match. That was the only match they were on commentary before, because Ted DiBiase and Vince McMahon are once again on commentary for this. I actually watched this pay-per-view match, or this match, before the Royal Rumble. I have the Tombstone Undertaker DVD, and this was one of the matches on there. I remember enjoying it a lot more as a kid than I do now. We get a beautiful belly-to-belly from Yokozuna at one point, but Taker just sits up and chokeslams him as best as he can. And that's really kind of the only highlight, because after the belly-belly and the chokeslam, that's when a bunch of Fuji's forces come out, and we get, like, Crush coming out to prevent The Undertaker from closing the casket on Yokozuna, and then, like, Tenryu, Bam Bam Bigelow, crap, I forgot the one dude's name, Kabuki, who I believe is the creator of the Mist. He comes out, so you got all these people coming out, attacking The Undertaker. Mr. Fuji ends up getting the urn at one point, and then Paul Bearer goes over to Mr. Fuji and Jim Cornette, and he takes them both out and then grabs the urn, raises The Undertaker. Bam Bam Bigelow ends up grabbing the bucket that has all the salt in it, and he goes to hit Taker with it, but he ends up hitting Crush with the bucket, and then Taker grabs the bucket, and he's just starting to take out everyone. So Tenryu, Bam Bam, Crush, Kabuki. We also have Double J, Jeff Jarrett, and Adam Bomb come out, who also get hit with the bucket. Then the Wild Samoans come out as well to help beat up The Undertaker. It's a cluster at this moment. Then we have Diesel come out. So now we have Tenryu, Crush, Kabuki, Bam Bam Bigelow, Diesel, both the Wild Samoans, Double J, Adam Bomb, and I don't even think he's the last. No, he is the last one. So like 9 people come out to help Yokozuna, all take out the Undertaker. They tried to close the casket on Taker, but Taker fights out of it. And then eventually at one point, Yokozuna punches Paul Bearer. He takes the urn himself, opens the urn, and it starts leaking out like this green smoke, which they're selling as like the Undertaker's power. Undertaker's just down, like he's not even selling anything, he's just down. Everyone's taking turns beating up on him, jumping from the top rope, doing all these moves. They line up Taker before Yokozuna just very lazily kicks him into the casket. They close it. Yokozuna retains the championship for the over the Undertaker. They're pushing the casket up there. Undertaker's music plays. As they push the casket up, the same green smoke that was coming out from the urn is now coming out of the casket. And then we see Taker on the screen. You know, he's cutting this whole little promo. He ends up, you know, saying, "Soon all mankind will see the rebirth of the Undertaker. I will not rest in peace." And then we see him, like, ascending from hell, is what I was told. So, there you have that. We jump into our Rumble promos, which usually, when we have Rumble promos, I mention the ones I like the most. None of these Rumble promos were really good. They were very quick and just... There you have it. We cut our promo. Number 1 of the match was Scott Steiner, and number 2 was Samu, once again, led down by Alpha with his hair. And number 3 was Rick Steiner. Who books these things? So, of course, you know, Samu's getting beaten down by the Steiner brothers. And at one point, the Steiner brothers go to toss Samu out of the ring, and he, like, hangs his neck in between the rope. It was a very scary spot. He eventually got out of it and took his elimination, but it was very scary. Like, I was terrified when I saw that happen. Owen Hart comes out pretty early, and he's already got nuclear heat. Like, the fans are booing him. And to my surprise, I really thought Owen might have made it to, like, the Final Four, knowing who wins this one. But no, Owen Hart is eliminated very early on from the Royal Rumble. So that was interesting. Diesel ends up coming out. He clears the ring of pretty much everybody in the ring at that moment. And then out comes Bob Backlund, who almost tries to deadlift Diesel over the ropes, but with no success. And then that leads to Diesel just tossing Bob Backlund out. Once again, he's left alone. Out comes Billy Gunn. He, he goes after Diesel, but he pays for it because he's out once again. Diesel at this moment has 6 eliminations. Finally, we have a couple, I forget who comes out. I think it was like Savage, maybe. There was someone who, Diesel just couldn't toss out. So, excuse me. So, there was someone he couldn't just easily toss out. It could have been Lex Luger for all I know. And, no, in fact, it wasn't Lex Luger because he was actually attacked backstage by Tenryu and Kabuki. So there you have that, Luger getting attacked. But, yeah. Next comes out Virgil, and him and Diesel, they're definitely stiffing each other. I don't know if there's some beef between Diesel and Virgil, but they are really going hard at each other. Diesel ends up stiffing him like really hard before he tosses him out for a 7th elimination. I love Ted DiBiase here because he was just quick, like, oh, there goes Virgil. Like, I love it, like how he just hates on Virgil pretty much. And then it is Savage. So Savage is the one that finally, ends the whole Diesel being left in the ring for a long time. And, yeah, so, we got the ring is starting to build up at this point. Macho Man was actually eliminated with, like, no reaction. Like, no one reacted. Like, not even the commentators brought up the fact, like, oh, there goes Macho Man. Like, he was just tossed out by Crush. Like, no mention. The crowds didn't even, care. Like, it was pretty crazy. Bam Bam ends up eliminating Diesel. So Diesel goes over. It was a pretty nasty spill for Diesel at this moment, too. I'm surprised he didn't tear a quad or something. But, I jumped the gun here. I already have Diesel eliminated. Oh, wait. Did I say... My bad. It wasn't Diesel. It was Doink. I don't know why I read Diesel. Doink gets tossed out by Bam Bam for a pretty nasty spot. I was like, I don't remember Bam Bam eliminating Diesel. Shawn Michaels finally comes out, and we see him and Diesel kind of form an alliance with each other. Diesel quickly pays for it as he's eliminated, like, almost right away. Greg the Hammer Valentine's out. He tries tossing Shawn Michaels over the rope, but Shawn ends up hanging on, so we're seeing classic Shawn Michaels here. Number 25 no-showed the Royal Rumble. It was apparently the Bastion Booger, but he was sick. I'm not sure why they just didn't replace Bastion Booger with somebody, but once again, we have a 29-man Royal Rumble here, because the Bastion Booger did not show up. I thought it was going to be Bret Hart, which, would lead to him coming out later, but no, Bret does come out eventually, despite being injured. He comes out a little later, so we have Bret finally in there. Once Marty Jannetty comes out, him and HBK go after each other. I mentioned how I love how Ted DiBiase and Virgil always touch on their history, so it's cool to see Jannetty and HBK always touch on their history as well. We end up getting our number 30 spot, which was the Atom Bomb. Bam Bam Bigelow was the Iron Man of the matchup here. And Tenryu, at one point in the matchup, he forces HBK and Fatu to headbutt each other. Of course, Shawn Michaels sells the headbutt like it was the worst thing that happened to him. Whereas Fatu, of course, being Samoan, doesn't sell it at all. He's just like, whatever. We get to our final four of the matchup, which was Lex Luger, Bret the Hitman Hart, Shawn Michaels, and Fatu. We all go into corners with Shawn Michaels going right after Bret Hart and Fatu going after Lex Luger. At one point, Bret and Luger send Fatu and HBK right at each other, so they're looking to pretty much make them collide into each other. But HBK ends up jumping over Fatu, so that was really cool. But what ends up happening after that is he runs right into Lex Luger, who tosses Shawn Michaels over the ropes. Bret does the same to Fatu, and then we have our final two, Lex Luger and Bret Hart, who brawl for a little bit before going over the ropes at the same time. We have a lot of confusion here as one of the referees is saying Luger won. Another referee, which I believe is Earl Hebner, was saying Bret won. So we got a lot of confusion here. It leads to Jack Tunney coming out. I made a nice little joke like, oh, Tunney, you don't want to tear your quads if you get in that ring. He comes out. He tells the Fink the finish of the match. Fink goes to announce the finish of the match, but before he can announce it, he goes back over to Jack Tunney. He's like, are you sure? And Tunney's sure. So Fink announces it that the winners of the 1994 Royal Rumble are Lex Luger and Bret Hart. So they both win. They give each other like a very lazy, like, yeah, whatever, handshake because they both won. But you can tell they're both not happy about both winning the Royal Rumble. So there you have it. The first time and the only time that the Royal Rumble has had two victors. The only other time would have been the John Cena and Batista thing. But they restarted the Rumble and had Cena and Batista pretty much do what they were supposed to do. So let's go ahead and pull up the ranking here so I can show you. I didn't show the rankings in the last one, so we'll see the rankings for both of them in this one. But let's go ahead and pull this up, get our infinite loop. And here we have it, the rankings of the Royal Rumbles. 92 and 93's Rumbles were really close to each other. I wasn't sure which one I wanted to put over. The 93 Rumble had a lot more spots that I enjoyed, whereas the 92 Rumble was just enjoyable all together. I ended up giving it to the 93 Rumble because of the spots, even though the ending does not sit well with me, with Macho Man pinning Yokozuna just to be tossed out. But 93 does take the top spot. There's no bias here because it's my birth year either, so don't say that. 93 takes the top spot, bumping down 92 to the number 2 spot. 1994 takes the 3rd spot, bumping down the 1999 Royal Rumble to the number 4, the 89 Rumble to number 5, 91 to 6, and 88, the very first Royal Rumble, still staying out as the worst Rumble, as unfortunate as it is. But let me go ahead and put this down. That is going to be the end of this Royal Rumble review. Definitely not as long as the last one, mostly because the matches just really weren't that entertaining. There wasn't a whole lot to go on. In fact, none of the matches of the night really were that great. Like, the Royal Rumble's, it might have been the best match on the card, but, yeah, it just, overall, this Royal Rumble really wasn't the best Royal Rumble, but, the Royal Rumble itself was enjoyable, so I'll give it that. That is going to conclude both Day 6 and Day 7. Hopefully, me and my boy Zach will be on Twitch here in a bit to do Day 8 and Day 9 of the 31 days of Royal Rumble, and by then, we'll be all caught up, so that's good. Either way, though, I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, do me a favor, leave me a comment, like, and subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, my name has been OMGWTF, LOL to WBRB, and I will see you guys hopefully on Twitch for Day 8 and Day 9. But if not, I will see you guys next time. Have a good day, guys.